So there was this moment where the man of God, Isaiah, walks into the palace of the king. Hezekiah, he's the king of Israel. And Isaiah goes into his presence. See, Hezekiah is sick. He's wondering, am I going to pull through in this sickness? And Isaiah says, here's what God has said, you're going to die. Like, you're not going to recover. This is it. There's no hope. It's done. It has already been determined. You will not survive. And then he leaves. He leaves Hezekiah there. After giving the news, he's out. And then Hezekiah turned his face to the wall and prayed to the Lord. Remember, Lord, how I have walked before you faithfully and with wholehearted devotion and have done what is good in your eyes. And Hezekiah wept bitterly. And you can just imagine how downtrodden Hezekiah was, right? How hopeless he felt, how defeated he must have felt. And so he just prays to God, God, remember me. He doesn't ask to get better. He doesn't ask to get well. None of that. And he's already received a word from Isaiah. God has said you are going to die. That's it. It's over. You're not recovering from this sickness. And then the scriptures say that as Isaiah was making his way out, he was still in the courtyard. He hadn't left yet. God said, turn around and go tell Hezekiah, okay, you're going to pull through. Like, you're going to live. You're going to survive. I'm going to heal you from this. Like, do you see what's happened here? God has made up his mind. You are going to die from this sickness. Hezekiah prays, God hears his prayer, and God changes his mind. Like, I don't even know if it's theologically accurate that God can change his mind, but that's what happens here. Like, I don't even know if it's possible for God to change his mind, but he changes his mind because Hezekiah prayed. You know, God hears our prayers and he acts on behalf of our prayers. You know, you're part of our prayer team, praying for our launch as a church. And I want to invite you, as you pray for the launch of our church, as you receive requests and things to pray for, I want to invite you to pray like you mean it, right? And I get it, right? I mean, we've said before, I'll pray for you, whatever, and we just toss up a prayer, God, be with this person, whatever. Here's what I want to invite you to do as somebody who's part of our prayer team or somebody who's part of our launch team. When you pray for our church, and not just our church, but in your prayer life, anytime that you pray, would you pray like you really believe that God is going to hear you and he's actually going to act on your behalf? Would you pray like there's power in your prayer? Would you pray like the course of history will change because you're praying? Would you pray like that? You know, I'm so grateful that you're part of our prayer team. If you're part of our launch team, I'm so grateful that you're part of that. But I want to invite you, please, don't just toss up a prayer. When you get prayer requests, when you get an email, when you get a notice, when you get something, don't just, okay, whatever, maybe if I have time to remember, if I think about it, or I forgot to pray or whatever. Would you stop what you're doing? Enter into the presence of the God of the universe. Understand that he's holy above all. He's bigger than anything and everything. He can accomplish all things. Nothing scares him. Nothing surprises him. He's never caught off guard. Would you enter into his presence remembering that and pray with power and boldness in the name of Jesus, believing that what you're going to pray for has already happened and will happen. Hezekiah was told, you're going to die. There's no getting over this. And then he prayed a simple prayer out of desperation, weeping bitterly, believing God would hear him. And he did. And he changed the course of Hezekiah's life. I just want to remind you, your prayers have that same power. So when you pray for our church, when you pray for your family, when you pray for your life, would you pray believing that God is actually going to hear you and he just might do something?